When someone disappears, it brings a lot of sadness, worry, and fear for their family and friends. They start wondering where their loved one could be, and the search to find them can take a really long time. Sadly, sometimes people give up and assume the missing person is no longer alive. But luckily, there are cases where missing people are eventually found. In this video, we're going to share the stories of people who went missing but were later discovered. Get ready for some thrilling tales of hope and reunion. Alexander Selkirk. You might not recognize the name, but if you've read Robinson Crusoe, the story will sound familiar. This book, which was turned into a movie, is based on the true story of a guy named Selkirk. Selkirk, a Scottish privateer and Royal Navy officer, found himself in a tough situation. He was on a journey with Captain Stradling when he noticed some problems with the ship. He told the captain, but he was ignored. When they stopped on an island for supplies, Selkirk made a bold decision. He chose to stay on the island to avoid the risks of the damaged ship. Later, he changed his mind, but it was too late. The captain wouldn't let him back on the ship. Selkirk was left alone on the island, relying on his survival skills. For 4 long years and 4 months, Selkirk managed to survive on a diet of goats, seafood, watercress, and turnips. One day, he heard noises and discovered some ships. Not sure if they were friends or foes, he took a chance and got their attention. Luckily, they were English, and they rescued him. After a year of sailing, they finally returned to England. Selkirk's hometown recorded his incredible story, which later inspired Daniel Defoe to write Robinson Crusoe. It's hard to imagine leaving someone stranded on an uninhabited island, a truly cruel act. Michelle Whitaker. In the early months of 2002, a woman named Whitaker vanished after being dropped off at a truck stop by a friend. No one knew where she went, and her disappearance was reported on August 16, 2002. The friend who dropped her off was suspected at first, but after passing a lie detector test, he was ruled out. Before going missing, Whitaker had been arrested for driving under the influence of drugs, DUI. She disappeared shortly after being released from jail, and she was supposed to attend treatment for drug and alcohol abuse as ordered by the court. During her absence, there was no activity on her credit report or social security number, leading investigators to suspect foul play, although there was no evidence to support it. Whitaker's case took a dark turn when one of her co-workers, Heather Sellers, also went missing. This raised concerns about a possible serial killer or abductor. In the summer of 2008, a woman watching an episode of Forensic Files learned about Jonathan Vick, Sellers' boyfriend, who was convicted of murder. Vick was also a suspect in a 1995 rape and murder case. During this time, another woman discovered a photo of the supposed murder victim, Whitaker. Surprisingly, Whitaker was alive and well, living as the neighbor of the woman in Oregon. The police were alerted, and in August, authorities announced that Whitaker had been found alive. She had chosen to disappear to start a new life. Fortunately, she reunited with her family, explaining that sometimes people need a break from familiar faces to find peace. While understanding the desire for a fresh start, it's recommended to consider therapy, or at least inform loved ones about such decisions. Denise Bolzer. On January 17, 1985, Denise Bolster disappeared from her home in Raymond, New Hampshire. She lived there with her estranged husband. Earlier that day, she dropped off her husband in Manchester and drove his truck back home, as her own car was in the shop for repairs. When Bolster's husband returned home, he found a note that sent shivers down his spine. "We've got your wife." Adding to the worry, he discovered footprints in the snow. Questions raced through his mind. Who could have taken his wife, and why? Would there be ransom demands? Days later, the police found the truck abandoned at Logan Airport. Upon searching it, they found Bolzer's birth certificate, credit card, and social security card. However, there was no clue about where she might be. Authorities suspected kidnapping and possibly murder, but lacked concrete evidence. They eventually concluded that she might have left voluntarily. Despite her family's doubts, the mystery remained unsolved, leading to her husband filing for divorce, ending his connection to the case. A few months after Bolster disappeared, her employer accused her of embezzling a significant amount of money. In 1986, charges were filed against her, but they were later dropped. In 2002, a private investigator provided a lead about a person named Denise living in Florida, sharing the same birth date as the missing Denise Bolzer. The lead proved true. Denise had been living in Panama City, Florida, under the name Denise James. She confessed to running away after her ex-boss threatened her life. Michelle McMillan. Meet Michelle McMillan, a 27-year-old woman whose life took an unexpected turn. On September 28, 2002, after dropping off her 6-year-old son Jaden at a friend's house in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, Michelle went missing. Despite promising to call her son before bedtime, that call never came. Michelle had driven back to Louisiana, where she attended night school to finish her degree at Grambling State University. Her parents had assured her they would take care of Jaden while she pursued her education. However, things took a different path. Her car was discovered abandoned on the roadside in Hagerstown, Maryland, with her cell phone, credit cards, purse, and some money left inside. Prior to her disappearance, Michelle faced challenges at her job and was fired from the Progress Emmanuel Presbyterian Church for poor performance. The police even declared her wanted on theft charges amounting to $2,400. In December 2008, a family friend tipped off detectives that Michelle was working at a hotel in Martinsburg, West Virginia. However, upon their arrival, Michelle had already fled. 3 years later, a woman who watched an episode about Michelle's disappearance called in with a crucial tip. She claimed to have seen Michelle working as a hairdresser in Oakland, California, under the name Danielle Jones. The police acted swiftly, apprehending Michelle. She was brought back to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and charged with fraud, theft, and forgery. Eventually, she was sentenced and required to pay $6,000 in restitution for her actions, a twist of fate that brought Michelle's journey from disappearance to facing legal consequences. Judith Bello. Let's dive into the story of Judith Bello, a 28-year-old mother of two from Stanwood, Washington. On December 13, 1993, she was last seen, and concerns grew when she didn't pick up her son from daycare. Her car was discovered abandoned near the city's post office, sparking an investigation that spanned almost 2 decades. In 2011, a turning point occurred when the Sheriff's Department received an unexpected call. A woman claimed to recognize herself in missing people's cases on their official website. To everyone's surprise, the woman was Judith Bello, declared missing for nearly 2 decades. She assured the authorities that she was fine and living in California. Remarkably, no crime had been committed, so no charges could be filed against her. Digging into the circumstances of her disappearance, investigators uncovered a painful truth. Judith had been a victim of domestic violence, leading her to leave Washington state. Despite having 2 children with her abusive husband, she went on to have 3 more sons after parting ways with him. The mystery deepened as to why she never contacted her family or the sheriff's office until 2011. Speculation arose that she went into hiding out of fear for her husband. Judith's story is one of resilience and self-resolution, a woman who took control of her own missing case, escaping a difficult situation and rebuilding her life. Timothy Carney. Let's unravel the story of Timothy Carney, a 25-year-old man who mysteriously disappeared on September 28, 2004. Timothy was heading to morning prayer at the Gospel Outreach Church when he vanished from his Butler Ridge apartment. His roommate, Roy Anthony, last saw him, and Timothy had informed his employer that he would be late for work. Worry set in when no one heard from Timothy after that. His mother shared with investigators that the church group he belonged to was trying to separate him from family and friends. Days later, police discovered his abandoned car on the roadside at the border of Elizabeth and Newark. Adding to the mystery, Timothy withdrew $1,000 in cash from an ATM. Speculation arose that Timothy might have staged his disappearance, and investigators considered the possibility that no one else was involved. After 7 years of searching, in 2011, the Kristen Foundation, dedicated to bringing home missing persons, found Timothy. His missing case, filed at the Morris County Prosecutor's Office, was then closed. Timothy's parents, like everyone else, were puzzled about why he had not contacted them for so long. It could have been the influence of the church or other personal reasons. Regardless, The family was relieved to learn that Timothy was safe after years of uncertainty. Thanks for watching the video, and if you found it informative, please like and subscribe to Time Capsule for similar content. We look forward to sharing more knowledge with you in the future. Until then, take care.